So what exactly is ASP.NET Ajax? First of all, it's a framework that is an addition to the core ASP.NET libraries that enables Ajax-style development of web applications. So traditionally, ASP.NET has been a very server-side oriented framework. It involved setting up post-back controls that round trip to the server, and you process the request on the server and prepare a response and send the response back up. And there was very little client-side interaction going on besides small amounts of JavaScript that were injected by the ASP.NET controls. But you personally, or you as a developer, would rarely add additional script to your rendered pages unless it was something you were doing on your own, sort of custom. So ASP.NET Ajax changes that. It actually encourages much more client-side interaction and using the asynchronous callback model. So it's built on top of ASP.NET version 2. And the initial release came out with support for Visual Studio 2005, which was the environment most people worked with for building ASP.NET 2.0 applications. It is also now officially included with version 3.5 of ASP.NET. So as of 2005, version 2005 of Visual Studio, you'll need to install a separate add-on to get the ASP.NET Ajax extensions. Whereas in version 3.5 in 2008, you get they come as part of the installation. So there's no additional add-on that you need to install for working with Ajax in version 3.5. Okay, a little history is interesting to look at here too in terms of how we got to where we are. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but the initial release of ASP.NET 2.0 actually contained some Ajax-enabled features. Specifically, there was an interface that was introduced in this release called iCallback Event Handler. And this event handler gave you a mechanism for describing a server-side function that would be invoked by some client-side code using an asynchronous callback over XML HTTP request, much like we were doing earlier in this discussion. However, it's not really worth going into the details of it, to be honest with you, just because ASP.NET Ajax extensions now give you a much more intuitive way of working with these technologies. And the callback event handler was really not much easier to use than straight Ajax, in my opinion. So it just added some additional layers that you had to sort of work through to get to the underlying Ajax calls. The one place where it actually was used effectively, in my opinion, was the tree view. So the iCallback event handler could be implemented on pages or on controls, and the tree view is one of the controls that implemented this interface to support an asynchronous callback mechanism for population of tree view nodes. So if you haven't used it before, you might want to take a look at this because it is still useful today, even in the context of ASP.NET Ajax being introduced. And the idea with the tree view is they support a special node type called a populate on demand tree node that exposes an event called tree node populate, which you add a handler for. And your code remains completely server-side, so you don't have to worry about manipulating client-side script or anything. And it will call you back on your server-side event handler via an ASP.NET Ajax asynchronous callback whenever the user expands a node that is of the on-demand tree node populate type. So it will dynamically populate the tree node as the user expands it, so you don't have to pre-populate the entire thing. So keep that in mind if you're looking for a tree view and you want to integrate the Ajax features into it. Okay, and then the ASP.NET Ajax extensions were released. The version 1 was released in early 2007, and this was a supplemental library for ASP.NET 2.0. And if you're working in straight version 2.0, Visual Studio 2005, you'll need to install that extension library, the 1.0 extension library that's still available out on www.asp.net. As of version 3.5, however, in Visual Studio 2008, the core Ajax extension libraries were included as part of the distribution, so there's nothing special you need to do to get the Ajax features if you're using Visual Studio 2008 and or ASP.NET 3.5, so it's all bundled together. And then there was an additional release in August of 2008 as part of the SP1 Service Pack 1 of .NET 3.5 that included some updates to the ASP.NET Ajax extensions runtime, including a few new features like the browser history control or browser history support, as well as script combining for making script downloading more efficient. So several features there, and that's the what was added in a subsequent release.